Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Synced Headquarters for some more movie nerddom. I, of course, am your stalwart agent of nerddom, Stephen, and here with my good boy.
Matty.
There he is. We just got done watching Black Panther Wakanda Forever, and we want to talk to you a little bit about it. To start it off, we're going to do our hot take. And in the hot take, we just give you kind of the quick and dirty rundown of how we felt about it and whether or not we recommend it to you. Then after that, we'll have a deeper discussion, so you're welcome to duck out after the hot take if you got the info that you so needed. We also kind of relegate more spoilery talk to the post hot take discussion. Black Panther Wakanda Forever is directed by Ryan Coogler, written by Ryan Coogler and Joe Robert Cole, starring Letitia Wright, Lupita Nyong'o, Danai Gurira, Winston Duke, Angela Bassett, and introducing Tenoch Huerta Mejia as Prince Namor. We also had Martin Freeman, always great, Dominique Thorne as Riri Williams, and Florence Kasumba as one of the Dora Milaje, Michaela Coel, and a bunch of other people. For the hot take, we're going to go throw it to Maddie here real quick. First off, get it started.
Oh man, Black Panther Wakanda Forever is an emotional roller coaster of a film. Pays homage to the late Chadwick Boseman. Sad not seeing him in it, but I think they did a great job kind of what they had, kind of being sidelined by death. This movie could have been worse. It could have been a dumpster fire because they didn't know what to do, but they had good ideas. Um, and I think everyone in it did a great job, and they paid. It was just great what they did for Chadwick Boseman. And I don't think I've been this emotional at just a random Marvel movie in a while. I mean, I guess like Endgame and like Infinity War, you're just like, oh, my
No Way
characters,
Home?
they're gone. Oh, that was a good one too. But this one hits a little harder because this Chadwick Boseman is no longer with us, which I thought he made a great Black Panther. I would have loved to have seen what they wanted to do, and maybe it was this movie that they made just with Chadwick. But
Yeah.
Steph and I had this conversation after seeing Black Adam and reviewing it, kind of just having fun, and then ultimately forgettable. I just walked out of this movie remembering everything, and I just love. I want to see it again, and I rarely go
Yeah.
see Marvel movies twice because I know Disney Plus is going to drop it in like a month or two. But go
Yeah.
see this movie; it is
Hell
good.
yeah. And I can't be in any more agreeance with Maddie about Black Panther Wakanda Forever. All the performances were really great. I even was a little worried about Letitia Wright taking on being the main character in this one. And I found after just a short while that I really loved her. Seeing her kind of carry the film as that main character was really awesome. Her supporting cast was great, and it seemed like everybody showed up to pay homage to Chadwick. Everybody's performance, every single line, every costume, every step that is taken in this film seemed to be mostly about paying tribute to Chadwick Boseman after his untimely death. And it's really sad, very emotional throughout the whole film. You're not getting out of this one without, feeling your heartstrings be tugged upon, like really
Yeah.
tug of war upon. They really they go for it. But I mean, sad state of affairs. You know what I mean? This is not only how they are dealing with the loss of Chadwick Boseman, but when I was watching this film, it's really how we all were kind of dealing with this loss. What a great, amazing actor. I was telling Maddie as
Mhm.
well. He's played like every black hero, in the last 10, 15 years. Jackie Robinson, James Brown, Thurgood Marshall, T'Challa, the Black Panther. Like, this guy is such an iconic figure for not just Marvel fans, but obviously African American culture, this whole countrywide, and I'm sure worldwide, being that Wakanda is a powerful African country. I think it's really unprecedented when the first one came out, and you could see the love and the representation, how meaningful that is to people, especially people who love superheroes. And don't get me wrong, I love my Captain Americas and all, but it's really great to see persons of color, as they say, or other ethnic backgrounds, or whatever you want to say, getting representation in films like this, because we need it. And, the last thing I'll leave off with my hot take, certainly go watch this movie, but, seeing Tenoch Huerta as Namor and seeing the Talokan world. I definitely wanted more of that. But just seeing a Latino superhero on the screen, man, that was some shit for me. I felt like a lot of things are coming in full play here. And, I've always idolized characters like Wolverine and Cyclops and, Captain America, you name it. But, it didn't necessarily always have, up until now, that flavorful tinge of culture that I am born from. So I'm sure that's a lot of what people felt when the first Black Panther came out. I'm not a black person. Exactly. And so it was amazing to see, Talokan have this like intense Mayan, Aztec, architectural, cultural kind of thing going on. Loved it. Absolutely great film. In the scheme of Marvel films, it didn't like blow my mind away or anything, but it certainly is a special one. We'll leave it right there. That'll be the hot take for now. If you want to see this movie and you just caught this little bit, haven't seen it yet, definitely go see it. Even if you're not a Marvel fan, it's a big cultural thing, and you can see how Ryan Coogler as a director really harnesses that and shows you why that's important, I think. And how do you feel about storytelling, execution, all that kind of stuff, directing, presentation?
Oh man, I thought it was well done. I didn't, it's a 2 hour and 41 minute movie. So basically, let's round up. It's 3 hours. At this
Really?
point, yeah, it's long.
Shit.
And at no point did I mean, there was times when I was like, man, this movie's long, but it wasn't like this movie's long. I want to get out of here. I was just like,
Right.
I was like, oh my god. I mean, it was so well paced that I knew like everything was what was going to be happening. I couldn't wait to see what was happening, and then big events like fights would happen. I was like, oh my god, there's still like a lot of this movie left. This is the middle of the movie right now. Like, how are
Yeah.
they going to end this thing? And I just felt like it was well paced, unlike Black Adam,
True.
which didn't really have its pacing. And I'm only comparing the two, not because they both have black in the title, but just because it was the last superhero movie I watched on the big screen. I mean, Ryan Coogler's since Fruitville Station has been a director that I just knows what he's doing. And I do have my issues with the first Black Panther, mainly being the final battle. Drop down a
Mm-hmm.
giant hole and they fight on a rail. It
Right.
was lazy to me. When everything else about the movie was amazing, but I wasn't going to hold that against him. I watch whenever I do my yearly run through the Marvel films. It's not like I exclude Black Panther or anything because of that. I watch them all, baby, all of them.
Dang.
And I thought, I was kind of worried going into this one that maybe the final fight would be kind of lackluster, kind of the way I felt with Black Panther. But having Namor in it, and a new Black Panther, the fight scene had to be a little different. She
Yeah.
is Shuri is strong, but Namor is like basically kind of a god. She has to figure
Yeah.
out how to beat him, and I thought the pacing was just great, man. I was there for it all. I was ready for it to hit all those moments. I thought it hit really deep, like from the opening of the film, just got me right in the feels. I was like getting a little teary eyed, and then they did that, purple Marvel logo with all Chadwick, and I was like, God, you're just driving it home. And then just as soon as you think it's over, no more cries. Ryan hits you
Yeah.
again and again, and you're like, damn it, Ryan, come on, man. It's an emotion. It's like I
Yeah.
said at the beginning of my hot take. I think it's the most emotional Marvel film just because of we've lost Chadwick Boseman.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it didn't make the story any less exciting, and it didn't. It
Yeah.
was about losing Chadwick, but it was also about who's going to be the new Black Panther. How are we going to continue on this story? Do we have good characters still? And like Winston Duke and
Mm-hmm.
everyone else in there. You care about all those characters. Like you wanted to see where they were, where they're going in this film, and I thought it was all well done. And certain things happen in this movie that you didn't see coming. Like, I mean, it's
Yeah.
spoiler territory. I did not see the Queen dying, so Shuri's all by herself. I thought was a bold swing, having lost Chadwick.
Right.
I'm totally blanking on Michonne's name. I only know her from The Walking Dead, but her character
Okoye?
getting stripped of her, yeah,
Yeah.
getting stripped of her. I don't even know what is the rank she's called
She's a general
in
in
it.
of the Dora Milaje, right? She's
Yeah,
like
I
a
mean,
general or
I mean, I
something.
just felt like there were bold strokes taken when I don't necessarily know if I was ready for them. Like I was like,
Mm-hmm.
how, why? why can't everybody just like, let's move on, let's be happy? Why did we got to fight Namor? We lost Chadwick, but it
Yeah.
was like all through it was emotional, and everyone had a good story. Everyone came around. Even Riri
Hmm.
Williams, the new character who will be Ironheart, was great. I mean, could have used a little more of her, but there was a lot to balance in this movie.
Yeah.
And I think they did it great. And I mean, I think she's getting her own series, or there's the Armor Wars, or whatever the hell Marvel has planned. So I definitely think we'll see a lot of her. But I thought she was,
Hmm.
coming into the Marvel universe, she held her own, man, and that was great.
Yeah. Yeah, they do a good job of picking their actors on good casting over there at Marvel. They
Mm.
really find great actors. But yeah, I thought, like the directing was really well handled. There were no cringy deliveries on lines or like overly cheesy, overly dramatic. This was kind of a masterclass in emotional beats for, blockbuster style films. I think
Hmm.
my biggest gripes a lot of times come from dialogue and performance kind of stuff, and or just the way it's approached. And I think it takes a sensible director to be able to really harness that emotion and not push it over the edge, really. And I thought this one, even though it's, I think all of us kind of wanted to go over the edge in terms of Chadwick and everything, so the
Yeah.
emotion was already really built in there. But I felt like throughout they made, especially that opening sequence, the funeral and everything,
Hmm.
and the music beats involved, and how African sounding things were, or when you had the Talokan, how like ancient Aztec and Mexica Mayan things were, with like the vocal, a lot of like sparse musical things, very primitive sounding instruments, and a lot of vocalization. The music was done by Ludwig Göransson, who a lot of you may all know did the music for Mandalorian, and I think even Boba Fett. Honestly, he's a hot commodity these days. But yeah, those the musical cues and stuff really had a lot of style and spoke to the cultural impact that I think the film has. And I mean, at this point, it felt, in some way, it feels like Ryan Coogler could do whatever he wants, and
Yeah.
I think we would have accepted it. I think he's turning into a really powerful voice in Hollywood with his work with Michael B on Creed, and now and what he's been doing at Black Panther, and then just where he's come from. It's just like he's got a good vision. He's a young guy and he's got a lot of power right now. So I
Hmm.
think at the helm of everything, being that Chadwick became a good friend of his at the helm of this story, I think he really just maintained control, and he had such a good team with him. There's a shot in the film where we see Chadwick on a mural during
Hmm.
the funeral scene. I love how they showed that, and then later they cut to a shot of the whole city, and you see the portrait of him still. And I was like, you know what, T'Challa is Wakanda.
Hmm.
He is this city or whatever. But then throughout the film, as I was watching it and seeing everybody kind of get their moment and get their due, I was like, everybody else around him is Black Panther. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it didn't really matter who took up the armor so much, because you have all these great warriors of Wakanda, even the mother, Ronanda, I think her name is, Angela Bassett. She's ready to fight, ready to throw down, and I did not realize this was 2 hours and 41 minutes. I'll go ahead and just say that I'm very grateful that the pacing felt the way it did and stuff like that. I
Hmm.
hate feeling like something's dragging, and it never really did. I felt like the conflict that they set up was really well set up, with the whole detection of vibranium and everything. And then not only that, but that the Wakandans probably aren't the only ones in possession of vibranium.
Right. Yeah.
I like how even they kind of left that open, which I think will probably play into the Armor Wars and Secret Wars, like who knows. But the next formidable metal in the Marvel universe we know is adamantium. So
Oof.
we got some hard metals, which is tight. But anyway, I think as far as all that stuff is concerned, it was just incredibly well done, especially considering it's part of a bigger series, and there are those connections that need to be made in the wider universe to consider. But I think everything was balanced really well. I will say, if I have any gripes, it's just that I think Namor's origin somewhat, maybe they could have spent a little bit more time, slowed that down a little bit. And I guess I was a little confused as to his if the plant like what are the greater ramifications for this plant? Maybe not any or whatever, but he attached that to his mutantness and mentioned that he was a mutant. So on one hand, I feel like, okay, that's cool because they're mentioning mutants, but then I'm like, wait, but he was activated by this flower. So is this flower going to be, maybe I'm overthinking it. More likely I am, but I did feel like overall his kind of origin story was just a little bit rushed, and maybe it's just I'm biased because I want to see more of Talokan and more of the Ku'ul. I think you have to say it like that. Ku'ul Kulkan. There we go.
I can't do it. I'm not going to try. But I can't wait for the Namor movie. I'm stoked.
Yeah, can't wait for that Namor flick to drop one of these days. I'm in. I love the guy. He's great. And the Talokans were really cool too. The blue ones were quite good to a certain degree.
Well, I've already spoiled some stuff, so it's all right.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, that's fine. So yeah, we'll jump in. How do you feel about characters, performance, anything singular? Anybody you wanted more of? Anybody you wanted less of?
I mean, I need a little more Martin Freeman. I did want a little more of his character because I do feel like
Yeah.
he's a rad character and tries to
Mm-hmm.
help out this like these people that have helped him multiple times, but he's balancing this world of, it's FBI and CIA, and I'm rewatching X-Files, so everything like trust no one kind of,
Yeah.
so it's definitely I would have liked to seen a little more just because he did play some major parts in some of the other movies.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like we haven't seen the last of Martin Freeman. I mean, maybe he's going to come into Armor Wars and some of that stuff. I think I heard. I don't. There's so much that Marvel
Choice.
drops. It's hard to keep it
Yeah.
like not until it gets closer to coming out. I'm like, oh, he's in it. That's cool.
Yeah.
I think that's the only character that I was kind of stoked to maybe see him and Shuri get back together a little more because they did have some cool moments in
Yeah.
previous films. And I think Martin Freeman's a good actor, but besides that, they were just balancing too much, and I would much rather have this movie be about the new Black Panther and what that means for the community of Wakanda and how they all work together, and then also Namor and his people, and I wanted. I agree with you. I feel like Namor could have used a little more time, but I think and there probably would have been more time if Chadwick would have still been with us. It would have been a different movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got a little choked up too. I was like, oh, I don't want to say it. But yeah, I feel like there was things that were probably rushed a little bit that they wanted more time with, but to kind of solidify and make sure they brought their point home that that
Right.
they're paying homage to him,
What
and
was most
just
important, maybe.
yeah, and I feel like that it didn't take away from the movie at all. But yes, there could have been a little more time. But I feel like most movies I watch, most of the time that are big budget, I'm always like, oh, I wish they would have done more with this or this or this or this. So I mean, and that's why you wait for the Namor movie, right? If you want more of that, they're
Right.
going to dive into it. He's going to have his own rogues. Yeah, he's going to have his own rogues gallery. We're going to meet. I thought everyone did a fantastic job. I don't think there was one weak actor in this. I thought maybe Riri Williams coming in might have been a little weak, but just because it's seemed like she's going to be Ironheart, and you have to tell that story too. Plus Namor, and he's the villain of this movie. Um,
Right.
and but I thought everyone did great. I remember the guy that plays Namor. I think he was in Narcos Mexico, if I'm not mistaken. There he is in all his glory, even though that's not the best sculpt of his face. But Steph and I talked about
Right.
that earlier. But I thought he was great in this. I remember when I first saw him, I was like, "Oh, that's a guy from like Narcos Mexico."
That's
That guy
cool.
was so good in that show. So I'm glad to see him in it. I
Kick
just
ass.
I'm also reading a book about that culture, an X Files novel, so it was very interesting to do the Kukulkan Khan thing. Because I'm reading a book about that and serpent gods and stuff, and I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh, this is crazy! This is cool!" It's like I'm getting a little extra education. I kind of knew a little bit going into it about that culture just from reading this weird X
Mm-hmm.
Files novel I'm reading.
Cool.
So I don't know, it was cool. I loved seeing that. I loved the underwater stuff. I was wondering how they were going to talk because it was all silent for a while they were underwater.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I thought it was all great, man. I just, it was a good movie. I had a great time. I thought everyone did a good job.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's stacked with such cool characters, like you could go on forever really about any one of them. Um,
Yeah.
I loved the introduction of Namor just on Wakanda. It was kind of scary at first when he comes out of that pool and he still has the mentality of like the ancient world. It kind of felt like to me when he spoke in his ideas of power, you know. So I think in the film there's really his character arc was kind of maybe like modernizing his views towards things in a way, but just so powerful, you know, such a powerful character. The way that he flies, the way that he fights. Some of my or favorite action in a Marvel thing, just solely based on how they conceptualized his kind of like running on the air kind of way of flying, and just so much visual archetypal information that's dropped in these Marvel movies. You know, it's not just about Marvel, folks. I'll say this, you know, on tangent wise, mythology from all around the world is jam packed with great superheroes and villains and stuff. Often Marvel's pulling from a lot of that stuff, you know, not to say that Namor is an actual Mayan god, but Kukulkan is, you know, the winged serpent. So there's so much. It's so great to see how they've done with, you know, some of with the Thor stuff and now with this kind of stuff, and kind of how they're building these ancient lores of our world into this world and kind of having fun with it, which is so good. But he was really great. I liked pretty much every moment he was on screen, and I definitely want more. Like I said, Letitia Wright, she was great in the hot seat and kind of in the spotlight here. She really did a good job of rising to the occasion, and I think certainly, you know, she had a lot of great people around her to kind of help protect that, which I think I'd be nervous as hell even if I was in a few of these movies. You know, it's like you're the lead now, you're the Black Panther now, and but you know, Okoye, I thought she was great. I love to get to see more of her and like the Dora Milaje, kind of their interplay and their relationships with one another are really great. You know, sisters, warriors, lovers, everything under the sun. But you know, duty comes first, and the severity of the way that Wakanda has to rule because of vibranium and this resource that's being hounded by world governments, and they want in. And you know, everybody's just trying to make weapons with everything. So the Wakandans are the protectors of the world, not just of, you know, their small nation state. Who else do you got here? Yeah, Martin Freeman for sure. I do want to say Julia Louis-Dreyfus's character. God, I forgot what her name is. Director or something. We'll probably be seeing a lot more of her too, going into Armor Wars and Thunderbolts, I believe. But I thought they did a really good job of establishing how villainous she kind of is.
Dude,
just the
so
scene
good.
when she arrives, you know, the music when she arrives, because she's a small woman, you know, and she's got the addition of this like purple strand of hair now, and it just like somehow that purple strand of hair matched with the music, and I was like, she's somebody to be feared. And then, you know, not only that, but like she has a relationship with Martin Freeman. They were previously married, or Everett Ross. They were previously married. I think we find out in this. I didn't know about it previous, but that's really funny because they have this kind of like sitcom-y ex-girlfriend, ex-boyfriend relationship kind of thing going on. But there's all these like dire risks of aliens and underwater armies and fucking teenagers who can build Iron Man weapons. So, you know, I just wanted to point to her because I think they're doing a really good job of kind of like getting her the little seeds planted for how she's going to be more effectively villainous later. Who else you got? Lupita Nyong'o. Is she Nakia? I believe her character is Nakia. Absolutely beautiful. Amazing performance. Wonderful. 10 out of 10. She helped carry a lot of this film too. Winston Duke as M'Baku. He's fantastic. I like that he's a little wiser. And, you know, maybe even the death of T'Challa has brought him some humility. But he's still powerful. He still takes the scene. Very charismatic. Angela Bassett as Ronanda. Amazing. I felt bad for her though. She's probably like, well, there's my Marvel check now, you know. But she must.
Oh, she'll come back for flashbacks. Don't worry, she'll get that check.
We gotta see her in the realm, the spirit realm. But yeah, man, like everybody brought it here. We get a really nice cameo. Spoiler, plug your ears. Michael B. Jordan comes back in a sense. Marvel, in a sense to. I kind of felt like we'd get some kind of thing to him, but I liked the way they used him because they pointed to this whole thing with her inner turmoil of giving in to vengeance or like living up to the name of T'Challa. So there's a really good balance going. And who else? Even the supporting villain characters, Atuma, the big guy, he was pretty cool in his fight with Okoye. I don't think anything I could say disparaging anybody in the movie to any degree. I think everybody just really gave it their all, and I think a lot of people were just so emotionally invested because of Chadwick, and I think their performances in this film will go to show how revered that he was and how everybody showed up. And then, they wrote that into the movie when everybody has these badass action scenes. It's like, we're all Black Panther.
Yeah. Loved it.
So yeah, how about let's say your favorite scene in the movie, favorite battle, favorite gag, or some such thing? What do you think?
I love the whole battle on the beach. It's probably my favorite. I mean, it's nothing that's like over the top great. Like, I mean, I'm sure there are better battles within the Marvel. I mean, like the final and is it No Way Home is the, the final
Yeah,
Spider-Man? Like that
yeah,
one to me was just like incredible. I loved every second of
right.
that. But it was just I don't there's just something I liked. It was grounded. Like I said, I had a big issue with the first final fight in Black Panther 1, and is it, Captain America, on your left kind of moment, like no, but
Mm-hmm.
it just felt right for the story. Like she knows how to beat Namor. He's not unstoppable.
Mm-hmm.
He's not a god.
Yeah.
I like that. I just thought there was a lot of emotion in her, like her getting stabbed through the stomach as Black Panther. You're like, oh, like when that happened, I was like, I don't know where this movie's gonna go. I mean, she has to
Right.
win.
Yeah.
It's Black Panther.
Right.
It's their movie, but I like, and that's the thing I like from a director when he's like, when you think you got it, and then they trick you into making your brain go, oh, she might not survive, even though it says Black Panther on it. She has to survive. They're not going to make another Black Panther. They're not
Right.
going to figure she's going to be Black Panther until other events happen, probably. But
Mm-hmm.
I just thought that battle on the beach was cool. I love how she used technology to kind of best Namor. Just because he is someone who's stuck in his ways and has
Mm-hmm.
this perception of people, and he's not wrong, because there is like the CIA and like the government part of it that does want their technology and would probably ruin their home world and all this, and I get that, but I
Mm-hmm.
did like that she could best him because she knew things, but he also wasn't dumb either. And I think the final moment when she could have killed him, and there's that moment of her mom coming back being like, you're not this person, even though you have
Yeah.
a part of Killmonger in you, and there is this retribution side, which we saw T'Challa and Winter Soldier. He went through the
Mm-hmm.
same thing, and I thought that was
Right.
great. That she also had a similar experience. She's lost everyone. Like T'Challa lost his dad, and that sucks, but he still got to come home to his sis and his mom, and now she's lost everyone. And to me, it was a really hard decision. That would be a very hard decision to make. But she is a
Yeah.
superhero, and heroes have to
Mm-hmm.
make those tough decisions, and I love that, and I thought it was great. I like that it changed Namor's attitude toward things, but he's
Yeah.
still like, by the time this movie ends, he's not still like he's on our side. You could always see him switching sides if a big bad comes up and goes, you don't have to be on their side because I can help you.
Yeah.
So
Right.
I like that Namor is not necessarily a good guy, but might help us in some kind of Avengers type situation, but could also
Mm-hmm.
maybe be on the other side of that.
It's like a wild
Which I
card.
think
Yeah.
would be, yeah, which would be interesting for the Marvel Cinematic Universe, because to me it's always kind of black and white. I guess Thanos, like for Thanos, you kind of get why he's doing what he does, but you don't want to see your favorite heroes get dusted
Right.
away. So you're like, oh, they got to save the day, bring the people back, But
Yeah.
I do like that Namor is not completely good at this point.
Mm-hmm.
He's a wild card, but will help Wakanda for sure. But yeah, it's interesting. I just like that final fight. I thought there was a lot to that final battle, even though it does just take place on a beach. And
Yeah.
they could have done a huge underwater thing that she has to figure out how to fight him there, but they decided, to do it on a beach. And I thought it was great. And I thought, like, every time they hit each other, it just felt. I was like, they're like
Yeah.
superhuman, and
Totally.
you felt it,
Yeah. Oh,
And I
when
thought that was
Baku
cool,
gets hit, that was pretty
dude.
rough.
I
I
was
was
like,
like, he just
uh,
killed him. I was so glad
yeah,
he's still alive.
yeah,
Um, yeah, I have to say the first time Namor really shows what he's made of in Wakanda when they kind of lay
oh,
siege
that's
to the
yeah,
place. That was really cool. And then partly, again, like I said, I love the way they conceptualized the way that he flies and how he can maneuver and stuff. And they made that feel really believable. And
hmm
like, there might as well be these invisible platforms on his feet he's like jumping off of or
yeah.
whatever. But man, I want some wings on my feet. How do I get that? Uh, but that was really cool. I just loved seeing the way he dismantled the Wakanda's forces, or showed them that they're a force to be reckoned with. Kind of brought him to a stalemate.
Yeah.
it seemed like. And I love that moment where after he kills the queen and he points at her and he says, "You're queen now," kind of like
Mhm.
really reiterating, like, I don't want to know what she wants to do about this. I already know how she feels about me. But she and him and Shuri kind of had an understanding in a scene previous. So I like that he kind of forced her hand, into the point of like, what are we going to do for the people of Wakanda? What are we going to do about this Namor guy? And it was very cool. And, it showed how he's used to like ancient styles of war and the severity
Mhm.
of royalty, but also knowing like, bury your dead, tend to your wounded, you got a decision to make. I'll be back in a week. I was
Yeah.
like you said, there's some bold swings here. I think they paid off for sure,
Mhm.
and made for a really excellent time at the movies. A good watch, baby.
Mhm.
I did not realize it was as long as it was. It didn't feel that way.
Like I said, the best thing you can do is let me see a runtime, and then I go sit down, like, man, this is gonna be long. And then the whole time I'm like, it's over.
Yeah,
What?
yeah.
Ah, I
Oh,
need
more.
more. And
Yeah,
I think that's says a lot to the filmmakers and the cast, crew, everyone involved. They made a great Marvel flick, and this is why I show up for I'm excited for Marvel flicks and not for
yeah,
DC flicks, because I feel they care about your time. They give you a 2 hour and 41 minute movie, and it's worth every minute of it. And
yeah,
DC, sometimes you go into it and you're like, man, that could have been like 30,
yeah.
20 to 30 minutes shorter and still done the same exact thing.
So I wanted to ask you, what do you think of the mid-credit sequence, and also where do you see it going? Where would you like to see it going? What do we think?
I liked it. I mean, I feel so. I was a little let down by it, but I loved it because it was like a good closing of like,
You
there
wanted
was
Doctor
another.
Doom,
Yeah. Well, no, I just
Mister Mephisto.
listen. If you're gonna give me a mid credit sequence to make me cry again, I feel like I need an end credit sequence to make me go, I
Yeah.
can't wait for the next installment. Which you don't get. So just heads up, there's only the mid credit scene, and that's it. You can walk out of the theater. I don't stay for all the credits sometimes because there's a lot of people working on these movies, and I got things to do. That's not true. I don't have a
Yeah.
lot to do,
Go
but
work on more movies.
um,
Just kidding.
I like the mid credit scene. I like that. Yeah, I just thought it was great. I thought it was a nice little ending to be like, yes, there will be another Prince T'Challa, and he's not ready yet to take on this
Hmm.
mantle because he's like 10 or something, 8. I don't know. I'm bad at ages of children, but
He was
I like
little.
that. It leaves a lot to be like if there is another like Avengers type event where we have to jump forward or back in time. You've established that maybe in a future world, if a scenario is you have, it wouldn't be like, well, who's this guy that's Black Panther? Where's Shuri? Like, who? How does that? Like, they've already set that up that if there is some big time travel event, this would be you would already know who this kid is. He would just be an adult version of him, right? And you can
Right,
cast
right.
the next big actor to play him.
It's
And
gonna be me.
eventually we would get to that point, maybe in the film series of Black Panther 5, 6, or whatever.
Hopefully.
But I liked it. I thought it was a nice little moment that just brought more tears to my eyes. That was just like, oh, it's so great. I'm glad that this existed. And I think one thing that I was kind of waiting for was the CG Chadwick Boseman to show up, especially when she takes the purple flower stuff. I'm glad
Yeah,
they didn't do it, but I feel like at any point during any of this, if there was, I feel like they would have done it with such love and care that I would have been like, I thought it would have been amazing. Because I feel
yeah.
like sometimes you see this kind of things in movies and you're just like, poor taste, my
Ghostbusters did it
friend.
kind of good, I
Yeah,
think.
no, like they did.
Yeah,
I thought Harold Ramis in it not talking, just making eye moments and stuff. Like it was so great.
right.
But you know, and I think they did a great job not doing it. And I think that's what everyone from the cast, I'm sure they had a big conversation about if they should or they shouldn't. But I think
Hmm.
they handled it with so much love. So if they ever decided to do that again, I think that I would be okay with it. But I love the mid credit scene, man. I just, at the end of the
Yeah,
day, I'm a huge Marvel fan, and I want to see what the next big connecting piece of the puzzle is. And I didn't get it. That's
yeah. It
fine because
just,
that
I
movie's
mean, the
not about
reason.
that.
Yeah, and the reason they're in place is to let us know that the story is continuing on in other
Mhm.
iterations, other films, other series, sub series to the larger series. So, it's just old Kev saying, "Don't worry, we got you. We're planting these seeds." And I
Black Panther
think,
will
yeah,
return.
yeah, I think they really handled that well and not doing like a holographic Chadwick and getting us to understand that and moving past, because after the funeral scenes, basically, it was kind of like, okay, we did that, we dealt with it, processing it, let's move on with the story, the film. You're back in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. This is what Chadwick would have wanted. Enjoy yourself and, be a part of this family that, he was such a huge part of. And that's how it felt, as an audience member, I felt like you're just as invested, because I mean, this is probably one of the greatest heroes of our time. Everybody loves Black Panther. So that was just a tough one, celebrities, they pass all the time.
Yeah.
Or like Anthony Bourdain, where it's just, you need to take that moment. And I love the opening purple thing, and it was in silence, it was like a moment of silence for Chadwick, for T'Challa. And it's a rough go in, but once you're in there, you realize it's up to you to carry on the legacy of Wakanda just as much as anybody else. Get that Regal pass. Wakanda forever.
Oh, I was gonna say, I do like that that Namor has his own, like, because we were talking about Black Adam when they do like this, I think is what they do in Black Adam or whatever, and how we're just like, they're trying to do a Wakanda forever thing, and I thought it was really funny that they had one for Namor, and I was like, it just works so much better because it hits better, and they know how to make a movie.
Did you know what that was? Did you put together what that was?
It's a clamshell because they live underwater.
Kind of. When he comes floating down with his crown on, he floats into that big shark's jaw.
Yeah.
That's my best guess.
I think it's a clamshell.
Yeah,
I think it would have been better if it was a clamshell, not a megalodon fucking jaw. No, that was pretty cool.
Like the Venus de Milo.
To get into like creature side of things and like going to say we got Aquaman and Namor, I was hoping that Namor might have some weirder creatures that we haven't seen in the sea, like not as intense as like Aquaman, because it's kind of like super comic booky. But I was hoping we'd get like a megalodon or something, like something that existed at some point. But like, when they're like riding into when they were doing the fight in the water and they have like orcas and like whales, I thought we might see like something that has like a prehistoric something. I thought would be kind of fun. Like, oh, that's a nice little like something you can do in the comic book world and kind of get away with. But I get that it was trying to be a little like they were trying to bring it down to earth as much as you can with a guy with pointy ears and wings on his ankles.
I was surprised they didn't harness sharks quite, as much. It was like orcas and
there's that scene where they show the orca fin that looks like a shark. I think M'Baku sees it, and I was like, "Oh shit, sharks are here!" I was like, "Damn!"
Because if you sick, I did want to see M'Baku punch a great white. I mean, that's kind of a missed opportunity there, honestly. That would have been sick.
They're saving all that good stuff for the Namor movie, okay?
Yeah, somebody better punch a shark sooner. I'm gonna be pissed. Dude, I like sharks. Just don't mess with them. But I mean, all in all, it was such a good movie. I think such an earnest and heartfelt, deserving sequel to the beginning. Such a good, respectful, emotionful send off to Chadwick. And it's been some years now since his actual passing. So it in a way, I think for audience members and probably a lot of the people involved, it's a big moment of closure to the whole thing, because I mean, this guy, if he wasn't taken out by his illness, we have many more Black Panther movies to come, and not to mention what other great roles he would have played, but he came out here and he made it happen, man, just for that short amount of time. And he really, God, the guy's just amazing. I can't say it enough. So those are pretty much my closing remarks. You got anything else you want to add before we head out?
Go see this movie. It's great. I think everyone was all a little worried about how this would be handled, who would be the next Black Panther. I feel like they kept it secret in the trailers a lot. We all had our like theories or whatever, but I think they did a great job. And if you're worried that they didn't pay respects to Chadwick and that's why you don't want to see this movie, well then, rest easy, my friend. Go see it. because they did a great job, and I can't wait to watch this in a couple months on Disney Plus again and kind of really take it in. You know, and God, Namor's so sick, dude. I was like, can't wait to see what Namor has to do in the cinematic universe. But yeah, it's a great film. Good job, Ryan Coogler and team and everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is Black Panther: Wakanda Forever.
Saint!